In today's podcast, we're talking all about Noah.
No, you. No, me. Welcome to the Wanderlust Wellman Podcast, hosted by Noah
and Vanessa.
We're a married couple who loves traveling the world and sharing all those experiences with you,
whether it's good or bad.
So now let's jump right into today's episode. Alright, so for episode 10, we decided to do something a little bit different, but maybe that's a little bit overdue, which is talk about us. Now, if you don't care about who we are, then maybe just stick to the travel videos, but I'm sure you guys are just dying to know a little bit more about who are these amazing people. How are they not famous yet? How have I not seen them on now? But anyway, so I'm Noah, and this is
Vanessa.
And we are a married couple, which you know from the intro as well. But we're digging a little bit deeper into that. So how old am I? You know, I'm not 40. So for those in the comments, I think that I'm 27 years old. And Vanessa, what is your age?
I am 26.
26.
But I'll be 27
in
2 weeks.
26 in 11 months and running out of days.
I know.
Very quickly. And and we live in the wonderful country of the United States of America, the greatest country in the world. America. No, I'm kidding. America, well, what are you going to say?
I was going to actually just move past that and say, we live in the Minton.
The Mitten, yep.
Michigan.
And
we live right here.
Yep, so for audio listeners, no need to describe. Now, Vanessa's doing a typical Michigander cultural thing where if you see a map, many people don't actually know where Michigan is or they're not that familiar with it. Michigan looks like a mitten, so it's very easy to see. And because it's surrounded by the 5 Great Lakes, which are like 5 of the biggest freshwater lakes in the world, I believe.
I think we're surrounded by 4.
4.
There's 5.
Yeah, you're right. 4 of the 5. And in case you don't know, guys, this is an educational podcast, so there's an acronym to remember it. HOMES. You remember it?
No, I've never learned it.
So do you know what they stand for, though? H?
Homes.
Mm-hmm.
Huron?
Lake Huron.
Ontario.
Lake Ontario, yeah.
Michigan?
Yeah, Lake Michigan.
Erie.
Lake Erie, the one that
we live
right by.
What's the last one? S?
It's not Inferior, it's what?
Superior.
Yeah, Lake Superior. So those are the 5 Great Lakes, and they help form Michigan into the shape of a mitten. So what Michiganders do is we're able to put our hand out like a mitten and point exactly where on our hand we live. So Vanessa was pointing in the southeast, which is like south of Detroit. Yeah. So we tell people we're from Detroit just to scare them, so they think that we're like some gang members or a bad, Not that everyone in Detroit's like that, as we know, but that's kind of like a stereotype that people think.
It is.
So,
but Detroit it's on the up and coming.
It's on the up and up,
Yeah.
It's coming around.
Yeah.
We say we live on 8 Mile, and people are like, oh, do you know Slim Shady? I'm like, no, we don't. But he's like the most famous person from Detroit, I think.
Slim Shady?
Eminem.
I know.
Okay. Man. Anyway, so yeah, that's where we live. We both grew up in Michigan, and we actually went to high school, everybody. We're high school sweethearts.
No, we're
not. But we did go to the same high school together.
We did.
And we met almost half of our lives ago.
Really?
Yeah, we met at 13 or 14.
Oh, crap.
And we're 27. So I've known
I was
you
13. It was freshman year.
Yeah, so I've known you for half your life.
That's crazy. Oh my gosh.
But we started out in Friends. All right, starting in the TV show.
On Friends.
I wish. We started out as friends, and this isn't just about me, Vanessa, and how we met, but this is obviously like the most juiciest, important part.
It's kind of just like our timeline. Stop that. What are you talking about?
I think it's interesting to hear about how we came to be, and we'll get to like the traveling and stuff too, guys. This isn't just about like us reflecting on our own like relationship. It's definitely a big part of it, and it helps tell the story of how we became these world-class travel presenters before you today in front of this $500 camera, but not $1,000, $500. Anyway, so yeah, and we actually met in Spanish class. Vanessa was the teacher.
That'd be cool, but no.
Seemed like it.
I feel very salty that I don't know Spanish fluently. But if I did, we would have never been friends.
Now save that for your biggest insecurities and fears, is that you don't speak Spanish.
Oh, yeah, we'll share that with you guys later.
I'm kidding. You can get into it. But, true. Yeah, Vanessa, that's a good point. We probably would have had another class together in high school.
I don't think we had any other classes.
No, we had
chemistry. That was sophomore year.
And we had geometry as well.
What year was that?
Sophomore year.
That would have been a whole year off of our friendship.
True. That's very true.
Yeah, see?
But I remember, just while we're on that little subtopic, it was my first day taking Spanish. I'd never learned like any of the languages before. I'm just some freaking like white dude who grew up in Michigan in a small town. And the Spanish teacher started speaking a little bit of Spanish, and she saw Vanessa, and she like, maybe because you already know Mrs. Best at all?
No, she just saw that I
was Mexican.
Didn't look white.
I just started speaking Spanish to Vanessa, and Vanessa was like just answering in English, but she knew what she was saying, and all the rest of us was like, we were watching like someone have a superpower, like freaking Spider-Man, like shooting webs, and I was like, whoa, I can't believe it. This lady's, I never heard like a foreign language being like spoken around me, like to that extent, and Vanessa was just like eating that up and responding, and I just couldn't believe it.
I had no idea that like anyone was listening. I was just kind of like, because she didn't want me to take the class. She's like, you should be in Spanish too.
Yeah, it was
and I was
Spanish
like,
1.
no, and I was like, I really don't know Spanish.
Mm-hmm.
So then I was like arguing with her about it, and everyone was apparently listening.
Yeah, so that was the first day, and that was the first time that Vanessa, impressed me, which she does every day. But that was the first one.
Well, we ended up sitting really close to each other.
Yeah.
Their last names, it's B and C.
Yeah, Noah Boudry and Vanessa
Don't
Coronado.
tell them our names.
They know our names.
They know your name, not mine.
Vanessa Coronado, she knows that. What? Okay.
Oh my god.
Nah, we're totally transparent and open here. I'll even tell you my shoe size later if you guys want to know. Okay.
Oh my god.
But so anyway, that's where we grew up. Michigan.
Oh my god.
Is this too much?
Noah.
Okay, I'll
They're
bleep
gonna
that. Dox us. Yeah, so if you guys want to dox us,
You should just said Southeast Michigan.
Southeast Michigan. Well,
It's already open now.
No. I bleeped it, so they're not gonna know. I'll bleep it. I promise. So anyway, so Southeast Michigan, and
Just say Detroit.
Please.
South of Detroit.
if you send me anything, send me something nice. Don't send me. Don't
Send chocolate.
Yeah, send chocolate.
Rat poison.
Yeah, no kidding. So yeah, we've known each other for a long time, but we actually didn't start dating until later in our life because we went to high school together. We were actually like really good friends, Vanessa and I.
I can't believe you're not calling me your best friend right now.
She's like a mid friend. No, best friend. Best friend now.
Wow.
And
Are you embarrassed?
No.
You don't want to call me your best friend?
You're my best friend now. My best friend
Now?
now. My wife now.
We were best friends in high school. Except for senior year.
Except for senior year. Well, yeah, that's a whole other can of worms to get into. But yeah, this is let's move a little bit past the relationship.
Anyway,
stuff.
yes.
So yeah, we started actually dating in 2017, whereas we met in like 2010, I want to say.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, and how did that come about? I know this is becoming really relationship based, but I think it's important to view us going to where we are now.
Yeah. I remember in high school everyone would be like, oh, you guys like each other? And we were like, no, like we're just friends. Like that's all it is.
Mm-hmm.
And then I don't know, because Noah was like this like little skinny boy who wore Aeropostale t-shirts. What else did you wear?
Nothing.
He was in a band, which is so
Yeah.
funny because I remember in middle school there was a talent show, and I remember there was this like band playing, and they were like, it was like metal, and I was like, so cool. Or what is it?
I thought you were laughing at us.
Yeah, I was like rock on. Wait, that's I Love You, isn't it?
No, this is it.
I like this one more. And I was like, rock on.
I mean, that's me the devil horns, so maybe we should do that.
That's why I did this one.
Oh, okay.
And then I found out that was actually Noah
Yep.
and his brother.
Yeah, my
and I was
brother.
like, oh my gosh.
So my good friends, we were playing some metal music in 8th grade, and it was a cool time.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a
And
lot
I
of
saw
fun.
him. I watched him on stage. I was one of your fans.
I know. It still is. Still are one of my fans. So.
But anyway, what was I saying?
I don't know. I don't know where that was going from.
I don't know.
Anyway, we started dating 2017, and from there, obviously the relationship blossomed, and we started to go on some smaller trips together. We didn't know we were going to become like travel crazy to the extent we are now, but we
Right.
both like wanted to go out there and like experience life, like adventure, make some memories. And our first trip we took was actually leaving the country, I think.
It
like our first
was.
like trip, proper trip.
I think, yeah.
Because if you know anything about geography, Michigan, especially Southeast Michigan, is really close to Ontario, Canada. So for us, it's like about an hour or so just to drive to Windsor. Maybe even less. Depends on like crossing the border.
Yeah.
But it can be like 45 minutes maybe to cross over to Windsor. And like I went there. Did I go there before? I crossed through Canada a few times when I was younger with my family, but Vanessa's never been. She only went to Mexico to visit her family. So we just did a little summer trip to Windsor. We like left in the morning. It was like a day trip, which is so much fun to do. And we weren't like these extremely traveled people. Well, I actually got back from Japan, so that was like kind of like a really big like adventure. So I think when I came back, I wanted to like go out there and like see more and like travel and experience things. I think it like made me want to take advantage of what was close to home after going like so far away to do it. So yeah, that was something we did, and it was a really fun freaking trip. Super fun, like one of our favorite memories. That we don't think about that much anymore because there's kind of like memory overload at the moment, which is a whole other discussion for travel. Is how like you have like limitless long-term memory, but just feel like some things kind of get like crammed out of there that you don't think about anymore because something else just takes its place. Yeah, I remember it was like really sunny, really nice day. We were drinking these like mimosas.
Oh, and their mimosas are so
They're so delicious, which in case you guys don't know, everyone knows, I'm sure. But it's like orange juice and
champagne,
yeah. It was like a summer day. There's like a nice breeze from this quiet like little courtyard, but like really beautiful like artsy little area. It was just so nice, so blissful. I had like a nice little buzz too, and just staring at the beautiful woman sitting across from me. That actually wasn't my girlfriend yet. They weren't dating. It was a friend. It was a friend trip.
It was a friend trip.
Yeah, but it was one of the many experiences that made us fall in love that summer.
Yeah, it was a good summer.
It's a great summer.
So after that, when we actually started dating, we I think started going on like smaller trips like around our area. Like we went to like Hidden Lake.
Yeah, there's like this little pretty like ponds and like gardens, botanical gardens near us. We went to.
Then we started venturing out a little more, started exploring Michigan, because the west side of Michigan is actually really beautiful.
Yeah, especially in the summer.
But I never went there growing up.
And I went to school there.
Noah, so I think we kind of did a little bit of traveling.
Yeah.
To like Toronto.
Yeah, we went to Toronto, Canada.
Where else did we go?
That was a lot of fun.
Holland, when you were in school.
Yeah, Holland, we went to school. We went to Saugatuck with my family.
Saugatuck,
we went to, we drove to Chattanooga, Tennessee.
Yeah.
In Kentucky.
Yeah.
We did, that was like one of our first big trips we did. It was like a 11-hour drive, I think, to Tennessee. Maybe 9 hours.
I think it was something,
Yeah, I think it was 9 hours.
I think it was 9.
Yeah, and then that's where we got really into like nature and like hiking and stuff.
And that's where like I think I was like, oh my gosh, like I want to live with like by mountains. Like I want this to be like my weekend thing. Yeah,
because like we would drive just to Kentucky and see like rolling hills and be like, oh my gosh, it's so crazy. Because the Midwest is so flat, you know. So we would like see like Kentucky and then Tennessee where there were actual mountains. Nothing as extreme as like the Rocky Mountains or anything like that, but there's still like actual mountains. I'm like, whoa.
Yeah.
So it was really cool.
Yeah, and I went to Georgia and I remember like driving because we drove there. So driving down to Georgia.
What did you drive to Georgia for?
It was with Allison and a whole bunch of girls for like it was like a conference thing.
What conference?
Like a Christian conference.
Oh, okay.
I told you about this.
I know, but they don't know.
No.
So I'm asking on behalf of the viewers.
I see.
Yeah.
So it was this conference that we went to. Yeah. Was it Passion?
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is like a whole like different thing, but I remember like driving past like they're so big, they're so cool. So then I was like, I want to go back.
Yeah, and we did.
And then we did.
And the world just felt so small back then.
I know.
And Chattanooga was really cool. It's still a really cool city in Tennessee. It's great hiking. There's good like food. It's like kind of like young, sort of like I don't know if it's a college town, but I feel like it had a younger population.
Yeah.
And great nature, history, and stuff too if you're interested in that sort of thing. And good hiking for people like us. Yeah. So that was a ton of fun, and that was like our next big trip. But at this time I graduated from university. I had my 4-year degree. I was like working a bunch of let's be honest, crappy jobs near home. They were fun. The pay wasn't the best. I was also working teaching like a few labs at this university in Ohio. So that was good, but I wanted to like actually like take the next step in my career, which would, for me, because I had a 4-year degree in science, I wanted to get a graduate degree, and I wanted to work in a lab because that would be a nice like stepping stone for like applying for like a postgraduate degree after having some like research experience. So if I wanted to do that and settle in, we wanted to move somewhere and do that. And Vanessa, she was talking about how she wanted to live somewhere with mountains, which is why the next step in our journey was moving to Colorado, in the west part of the country, right by the Rocky Mountains, which was something that I was down for. I didn't have like a strong inclination myself, but I was just down for an adventure and something new and exciting.
Yeah.
Which I think maybe that perspective was more exciting in retrospect than actually like working in a research job, which we'll get into more later. But yeah, so why Colorado?
Honestly, I'm not too sure. I know that I wanted to be like towards the west side of the country, I guess, even though it's more like, is it the middle? It's like
it's technically the west, but
Midwest?
no, it's technically the west.
Oh,
but
it's west?
I don't know how the map of America is weird.
Yeah.
Because Midwest, I think, ends with Nebraska.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Maybe once you get to the Rocky Mountains, it's like, okay, no, this is the west.
Okay. Well, I wanted mountains, but I didn't want to be too far, so that was like the closest place with actual mountains, not just like hills.
So it was like a 2 or 3 hour flight back home from Colorado.
Yeah.
It's not
it was
far.
a super easy flight. And then, I don't know, I just always felt like pulled to Colorado for some reason.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just really weird too, because we actually did not visit Colorado until a week before.
To look at apartments.
Yeah, a week before we moved.
Was it a week? Only a week?
It was a week.
Dang.
Yeah.
It feels like it was more time between, but...
No, and then we started driving, and we did not have an apartment
Yeah,
yet.
we were driving there with all our stuff packed up before we even had like a place to live.
Yeah.
We didn't find the place to live until like the night before.
I remember we made it like a pit stop somewhere, and you were like...
Des Moines,
filling.
Iowa.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And you were filling out an application,
Yeah.
and we were like, okay, I hope they get back to us like ASAP.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's what happened, and it all worked out. We arrived later that day. The lady at the leasing office stayed a little bit later to help us sign
She
our
stayed
unit.
way later. She stayed like 2 hours past her shift.
Yeah, it was like...
to make sure that we were able to stay the night there.
Yeah, and our original plan would have been just to stay in an extended stay, like hotel or something in the meantime. But
Yeah.
hey, this was nice to do, just to move in as soon as we got there and
Yeah.
like save money and
Yeah.
get settled.
It's like it's so crazy to me. Like I can't even like, it doesn't even feel like my life anymore.
No, I mean that was already that would have been 2019, right? No, 2018.
We left in 2020.
No, it wasn't. No, you mean moved out of Colorado?
Yeah.
So maybe because I graduated 2018, so it would have been 2019.
Yeah.
So that was 4 years ago. Only 4 years ago. It feels like longer than 4 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
I know. Time flies.
Well, anyway.
Everybody. So yeah, that was our next chapter in our life, and that took our like whole love for adventure and travel to a whole other level.
Yeah.
But actually, before that, we did do
What?
one of like I can't believe we didn't touch on this. This is
Kelly's Island?
well, oh god, there's even more. Okay, so Kelly's Island. Briefly talk about Kelly's Island.
Okay, Kelly's Island, it's in Ohio. It's like an hour away from where we lived, and Noah's mom was like, oh, I think you guys would like it.
It's kind of
Like,
close to Sandusky and Cedar Point, which is a very
it's right
famous.
by Put in Bay.
Yeah, Put in Bay.
Yeah.
Which is like a place where people like to go to party and drink.
Yeah.
But Kelly's Island is more
It's
of a
like
charming,
super-
naturey place.
Right. So we went there, and I was kind of like, oh, I don't know, like, it's Ohio.
Yeah, I know. Well, but during that time though, it's like, oh, it's an island, and it's still somewhere you go. We brought our bikes to like take over on the ferry to like,
Yeah.
well, in our car.
Yeah.
Our car and our bikes.
But we didn't even use the car.
Yeah. So
But
I was more
anyway.
excited.
It was so much fun.
Magical.
It was just like a whole day filled with like adventure, and it's like we can never go back there because the memories are just so great that like if we go back, it's gonna like.
After freaking visiting like Greek islands, the islands in Italy, Hawaii, freaking yeah, like island hopping and visiting these unbelievably beautiful islands, you can't return to a small island in
I
Ohio.
know.
But it was so magical
It
and
was
fun.
yeah, it really was.
So we just like took the ferry over like in the maybe like late morning, and we just took our bikes out. We packed like some food, and we just like cruised around, checked out all the island, just explored. We found this beautiful like little quarry area.
And it
we
was
were,
like the water was warm.
the water was warm. We like did these little mini like cliff jumps into it.
Yeah, but I remember I've never cliff jumped before, so I remember being like, oh my gosh, like this is so scary.
Yeah.
And then I did it anyway, and it was so much fun.
It was just fun. It felt like so much fun. It was an adventure, and and then we took like the ferry back like towards like the end of the day with sunset, and had like a beautiful like look in the sky. And we drove back in the dark, and it was just like such a magical day.
Yeah.
But that wasn't actually the trip I was talking about.
Oh.
This was another trip that one of my friend Willie, we did this right before we moved to Colorado, a few
Yes.
months, maybe like 3 or 4 months. It was in January,
Okay, yeah.
and we moved in May.
Yeah.
So if you guys have checked out my Malaysia content, you might know that my friend Willie was hosting me, and he actually met him in Japan while studying abroad a couple years before then. It would have been 2 years ago. And he had like some graduation trip where they were going to go to America. And of course, living in Michigan, that was far away from LA, but I wanted to see him because I hadn't seen him in a couple years, and I'd never been to Los Angeles. And Vanessa and I like going places and traveling, so I was like, let's make it happen. So we went to Los Angeles, and it was really nice to see my friend Willie. But like we had such a great trip, me and her. Although there was like a time mix up.
Yes.
And he was only there for like, we only had one full morning together to hang out.
Yeah. It was
Yeah, I think maybe because of the time difference when flying, you like lose a day. I don't
Yeah.
think you incorporated that when telling me the times.
Right.
So he's like, oh yeah, I'll be like arriving this day. But it's like, no, it was really the day after.
Right. And it was really just like a weekend that we were going. So one day, and then that just is a huge difference.
Yeah. But we rented like Lime scooters and cruised around Santa
and
Monica
that was, like, our
and Los
first
Angeles.
time, like,
It just felt like
doing something like that.
Yeah, and then like we like walked a ton, like
We took public transportation.
these little trains, saw the beach, ate some delicious food, did some hikes in the mountains, and like got so high we like touched the clouds, and you could see the ocean and the city at the same time.
Yeah.
It was just such a magical trip.
It
Like
was.
Los Angeles will forever be like one of my favorite places in the world.
And the
from
thing
that trip.
is like, I was like, oh, California, I've never been there before that. But I was like, everyone is so in love with it, and I have no desire to go, but I'll go for this trip so you can see your friend. And then I was like, I get it.
It's everything.
I get why everyone freaking loves it here.
Yeah, maybe it's like obviously it has a lot of problems with like homelessness and like expensiveness, and like the city isn't really functional for like pedestrians, I guess, in the same way. It's built for driving, which anyway, we don't need to get into that. This is just building towards our love for travel and how like things progressed.
Yeah.
Which hopefully you guys are getting a little bit of picture of how this happened. Because when we were younger, I guess we should go back to that too. This is so disjointed. But when we were like, before we got together, like our previous travel experience was like, I went on some trips around Michigan with my family. I used to visit my like grandparents in Connecticut. I went to actually Toronto, and that was a lot of fun too. That was like my first time leaving the country and like one of my first bigger trips. And that was like a ton of fun. I really enjoyed that. My brother didn't go. I went with me, my parents, and we had a ton of fun. But yeah, what was your travel experience like when you were before us?
Really, it was just to visit family in different places. So, trips to like Florida to stay with family.
Too. Yeah.
Well, because we had family there, so that would make sense. Some trips to like, not really a trip to Texas, but stops in Texas because we would go to Mexico and we would drive because it was the whole entire family that was going.
Yeah.
So we would all stop in Texas before crossing the border, but
because yeah, Vanessa has family in Mexico.
Yeah. So, but I think that honestly was about it. We didn't really.
But what was your like impression of doing that? Was it something like you didn't like doing, or did it like leave you with like some like excitement or like wonder, or be like, "Oh, this is cool"?
I mean, definitely in Mexico, I'd be like, "Oh, this is cool," but because I am not like kind of like fluent in Spanish or anything, I would just like cling to my mom or my grandma the whole time. But I would always be like, oh, like I wonder what they're doing over there. Oh, I want to go in because there's where my great grandparents lived. It was surrounded by mountains, so I was always like, oh, I want to go up to the mountains, and maybe that's like where I like
that makes
found
sense.
It. Yeah, where like I was like, oh, I just love mountains. Maybe same for you for the ocean. Because didn't you grow up like?
Oh yeah, my grandma, she lived near the ocean too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I always liked the water too, and I'd go to like the lake nearby or little town we lived near, and it was always really calming and fun. It just felt like totally peaceful.
Yeah.
So yeah.
But.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that makes sense. So you both always enjoyed traveling to some extent.
Yeah.
I remember the first time.
I never enjoyed driving.
Well, yeah, driving and traveling sucks,
Yeah.
especially when if you're with your family and like you feel like is this kind of a drag?
Yeah. It was like 3 days of driving. I literally had to like sleep in a car, like. Because the parents would drive, or not the parents, but the adults.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So yeah, that's another topic we'll get into another day. It's more about like why we decided to start traveling. I guess it's just kind of giving you an idea of like who we are as people and why we decided to travel and our previous memories that led us to be who we are today. Because we got to keep it going in the timeline. We were in Colorado, and yeah, what was that like, just in general?
It was. It was so crazy. To me.
It was crazy.
Like I would drive down the road to work, and I'd be like, "Wow, I have views of the mountains." Well, when I was, depending on the way, but
yeah,
I think we got a little obsessed with hiking. We would go like
every weekend,
and we'd be like, "What's the next hike that we can do? What's a good one?" Like
it's a good way to stay in shape.
Yeah,
but I think my knees are paying for it.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then to be honest. We didn't really make a ton of friends there.
Not as many as I would have liked.
Yeah, so hiking was kind of like...
Me and you.
Yeah.
But it was always fun. I never felt like I wish some other people were here. Mm-hmm. Maybe when it came to like socializing, like getting a bite of tea, going out for some drinks, that was kind of fun. But hiking I always just enjoyed doing with you, to be honest.
Yeah, I agree.
We did it with other people, I think like 5 times maybe.
Yeah.
Which is still
we did make some friends, but it wasn't like...
them too,
yeah, it wasn't like this little community
Posse.
that way. Yeah.
Yeah. When they got community, that's good too.
but
Yeah, it was
lots
fun.
of beautiful views, lots of good food too. You don't agree?
No, it was good food, but like
That was like our first, like, other than Detroit, there's
Living
no
in a big city.
vegan. Yeah, there's no vegan restaurants here.
Oh yeah, because in case you guys don't know, we're vegans. That's like a really big part of who we are. If you're new to our channel, we're vegan travelers. So we like food. We love vegan food. And yeah, in our small town, there's not a lot of vegan options.
Yeah.
Only in like Detroit and some areas. So yeah.
Right. So
That's a
I
good
think
point.
Colorado or Denver was like our intro to like vegan restaurants.
Yeah, which was awesome.
Yeah.
So cool. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Because yeah, I think a lot of people think about Colorado and they think like the food isn't as amazing because it's just kind of like this state in the middle, in the center. There's not a ton of diversity. Whereas you go to other like states like California, and it's like, oh my god, you got stuff from all over the place.
Right.
Really authentically made. But
yeah,
for vegans, it was really cool to have those options for
Yeah.
sure. But it wasn't all sunshine and rainbows in Colorado because there were some growing pains
Yeah.
for both parties.
Yeah.
But I want to hear your side of it first.
9.
Yeah.
I think that, so I have 2 younger sisters. When we moved, they were like 15 or 14.
Teenagers.
Yeah, they're teenagers. And I'm like the oldest. So I think that when we moved, I was kind of like, oh my gosh, I abandoned them. Like, they need me. And then I started getting really homesick. And then I was like...
You felt like you were missing out on
really-
everything too.
I was. Like,
There's also young kids in the family too.
yeah. So like birthday parties I wasn't able to go to. And like bachelorette parties that friends were having, or I don't know, like I felt like I just was missing a lot. So a couple months in, I was already like, I don't know about this. Like, I love the adventure, but like, what is the adventure if you don't have like people with like by you?
I think it's just a really important thing to do regardless. I think everybody, I don't know how old you are who's listening right now, but if you're debating about like moving out of like the state or far away from family, do it.
Yeah.
Do it.
100%.
100% do it. And even if it's like something terrible and you're like, oh, why'd I do this? You can always go back. Family will always be there.
Yeah.
But it's important to like learn like what's important to you and like what's cool with you, because like that was something that like we were answering. It's like, oh, like how important is adventure? How important is like nature? Like how important is community and family and friends and social life and having those really close relationships, because you kind of take those for granted a little bit if you grow up around them 24/7.
Yeah.
Where sometimes people move and like, you know what, I'm okay with seeing my family like a couple times a year.
Right.
And this place really like resonates with me. There's like-minded people. I'm building a new life and new community here.
Yeah.
Colorado, unfortunately, for whatever reason, didn't end up being that for us.
Yeah.
And also the jobs weren't necessarily like something we loved either. That's not the reason people might stay or move somewhere. Because at the time, like I said, I was interested in doing research to move further to the next step in like education and career. But that research job, without like throwing too much shade, I worked at the University of Colorado, which sounded cool and prestigious, you know. So I was doing biomedical research, which was kind of cool, and I was really excited. And like this was my first time getting like a legit like salaried position, which wasn't like a ton, but for me it was really good. And I actually went through like that summer until it took me a long time to find a job there, and I was doing temp work, really trashy work. I was working at like some apartment complexes, doing like groundskeeping. Like, and by groundskeeping, it's literally like picking up something like dog poop and like trash and throwing it away. Made me feel like I was like a felon or like doing like some community service. And I'm like, I had these days where I'm like, what am I doing with my life? Like, I just moved like across the country, and I went to school for 4 years, like busted my butt, let's keep it clean. And worked really hard, got a good degree, and I'm freaking out here doing like this really like low education work. So I got that job. I'm like, oh cool, this is gonna be awesome. It has a great salary. It's like, it's not exactly what I wanted to do, but it was like in the sciences, somewhat related to my degree. So I was super pumped, and slowly I began to realize that this line of work was not something I was passionate about at all. I love science, I love education, I love learning the concepts. Maybe it just was a bad match with me in the lab, but it really like started to like suck like the life out of me.
Yeah.
And I really was like really anxious, really stressed out, even though I didn't have a ton of responsibility, to be honest. I was like kind of lower level in the lab, but I was just like always worried I was going to make a mistake. I was always like really like not very sure of myself. And my manager, I think she is a good person, but I think she also had a lot of stress on her shoulders. So, and maybe she always wasn't the best at like relaying that with the team in a healthy way, I think, without getting too many specifics. And it didn't really resonate well with me. So I was really unhappy doing that work. And then Vanessa wasn't happy, of course, with the family situation. So we decided we wanted to move out of Colorado.
Yeah.
Which is crazy to think about.
I know.
It's like we're reliving these moments and days in this conversation.
It really is.
But we lived there for a year and a half, and it was great.
Yeah.
We knew we wanted to leave, so we like tried to take as much advantage of like the summer, do so many hikes, travel throughout like the state. We did like some road trips like Utah and California as well.
Yeah. Which are a lot of fun.
A lot of fun. Colorado's a great place for like hikers and adventurers, definitely.
Yeah. We went to Washington.
Oh, yeah,
when we were in Colorado.
Yeah, we flew to. That was right before we moved out.
Yeah.
Oh, we also drove to New Mexico.
Oh,
and that was a ton of fun.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
That was another cool thing about living in Colorado, was just the different like day trips and options.
Yeah.
Without even flying. And we drove to New Mexico, and that was so much fun.
Yeah,
that was such a great trip.
Actually, we I can't even talk. We planned this trip very, very last minute.
To New Mexico?
Yeah.
Santa Fe? Yeah.
And it was for Thanksgiving because we were really upset. Well, not really upset, but we were really bummed out that it was just the two of us for Thanksgiving and we weren't flying back home.
And we didn't like eat with any friends really.
Yeah,
so,
we didn't have like a Friendsgiving or anything. So we're like, you know what? Let's do something that will make us happy. So.
And we bought tickets for Tokyo, but that was canceled for COVID. Around that same time too.
Happened, yeah.
But anyway, Santa Fe.
Oh, no.
That's all?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a really good trip.
It was just a really good trip.
We could talk about that another time. I think I want to make a podcast talking about each of these different like trips more detail. Because it's fun to relive it and think about it.
Yeah, it is.
And maybe you guys, if you're interested in visiting these places, and make you excited or give you some information to go to these places as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Man, it's funny, such a good mood talking about these memories. It's so much fun. Hopefully you guys are enjoying it too. But so yeah, we wanted to move somewhere close to home, but not home. Somewhere new and exciting and fun. And we did like the nature and like the adventure and the mountains, and we didn't really have that close to home. So we wanted to settle on somewhere that either had like nature or that had something cool and different, which we've never lived in a big city.
Yeah.
And there was a city that we actually both visited before for like a concert for your birthday
that
we really enjoyed.
Yeah.
So we moved where?
Chicago.
Chirac. Oh, Chicago.
Yeah. Chicago. No. Well, I
was really excited about it.
I think I had I don't know what it was, but I knew that at one point I wanted to live by mountains, which I did. And I also knew that at one point I wanted to live downtown, in a big city.
Yeah.
But not New York.
We did both of those.
Yeah.
Look at us, living our lives. Yeah.
So that's, I think, why I decided on Chicago. And I was like, that's a fun place where lots of things are always happening. And we're close enough that...
It's a 5-hour drive.
Yeah, we can go back home. People can come visit us because no one really visited us in Colorado.
Not as many people as we'd have liked. But your family came once.
Yeah, and it was kind of like, hey guys, we're moving, so you got to visit us now.
Yeah, I think I had maybe 4 or 5 friends visit.
Really?
Yeah, David did, George and Maher, and my brother, who's not a friend, but he visited. And then your friend Jake visited us. Your family visited us as well.
Yeah.
I think that's it, actually.
I think that's it, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, and then also some of their family visited too.
Who?
Israel.
Oh, yeah, I forgot.
So, yeah, anyway. Yeah. So that was really exciting. Because I remember we were spitballing places to move to closer to home. We're what about this place? I don't know. What about this place? Columbus, Ohio. I'm maybe. And they're what about Chicago? We're oh, Chicago.
Yeah.
And I'm it seems pretty cool. And we started looking into places to live. I'm oh my god, this place has this view of the city.
Yeah.
This place has this hot tub and pool.
Right.
And we found a really freaking cool place to live right downtown.
What was crazy is that our rent was cheaper in downtown Chicago than it was in Colorado.
Yeah.
And I'm
which
many people... And we were in Westminster.
Yeah, a suburb of Denver. Between Denver and Boulder.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which a lot of people are moving to Colorado, so I'm not surprised the prices are higher. Yeah. It's not like we moved to Wyoming.
Right.
So...
But anyway, we got an apartment in the Loop, and it was...
The Loop's the main downtown area.
Yeah.
Where the tourist attractions are, I guess.
I do think it was more affordable too, because we moved in right in the middle of the pandemic.
It was 2020?
2020.
Yeah, 2020, yeah.
So when we first got there, our very first night, we were okay, we packed, or we're here, we put the cars in a lot, we're hungry, let's go find some food, and everywhere downtown was closed except for Qdoba.
And that was a bummer. It's like, oh, we're living right in the middle of the big city.
Like, oh,
we have so many food options.
here.
Just walk like here and choose between 20 places. Like, oh, no, we have to walk to this Qdoba.
Yeah.
First night.
And then I think we slowly realized, like, the Loop is cool if you're, like, a tourist to visit.
Yeah, it's a good hub.
Yeah, but, like, it's kind of, like, more businessy and more, what is it?
Businessy, touristy.
Touristy.
It's like a lot good for like shopping.
But like the big like companies.
Yeah.
Or corporations. It's not like you won't find like little boutiques there or anything.
You'll find a couple, but it's not the same.
Yeah.
And it's built up like so.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you want like a cute little neighborhood where you have like a little coffee shop or some unique restaurants, you want to live in a different neighborhood in Chicago. Maybe like Wicker Park would be a good one, Logan Square, Gold Coast,
Lincoln Park.
Yeah, Lincoln Park.
Did you say that?
Maybe. I might have. I said Wicker Park.
Oh.
Yeah, which is another cool place to live too.
But anyway, so it was fun adventuring, I think, like going to check out the different neighborhoods around Chicago.
Yeah, you saw the lake, which is pretty.
Yeah.
Although it's a little not the same as like, I don't know, like a beach you might find in like a really pretty like place. It's like a beach for people in the city to use.
Right.
Versus like a true nature beach. But it's still cool to go to the beach.
Yeah.
We didn't really go to the beach that much,
No.
but it was cool to see. But so what were you saying about Chicago?
But it still didn't quite feel like home. It kind of
No.
just felt like a temporary place for us.
Even though you were working and you did make some good friends in Chicago.
Yeah, I made some friends in Colorado and Chicago, but you didn't though.
Okay. Well, my excuse in Chicago was it was COVID.
Yeah.
And I made a couple friends in Colorado. I just nothing deep, nothing really strong, no strong connections, which is harder to do when you're an adult. And also, it's not always easy for me to connect with people that I meet in my daily life because of our unique situation, I think. I can meet some people with hobbies, which, but it's a little bit different, which kind of started to give you an idea of that we are different, Vanessa. I'm a different person. You're different. We want to live different lives than other people.
Yeah.
Which is cool to be able to do in this world. But after, just to touch on this, so after my job in Colorado, I like put in my whatever, not resignation, but like 2 weeks or whatever. That I wanted a month notice that I wanted to leave. And then during COVID, I started to work remotely because I had extra time and had the availability to do so, which is where I started my current occupation, which is an online English teacher as a second language, which I still do now. I hope to transition more to like content creation and making stuff on the internet as like a business. But so that was what I was doing in Chicago too. So I was working from home. I was going to see if I could make this work as like a job by itself, because then it was a side hustle before I moved to Chicago. So I was like working from home all the time, getting up at like 5 a.m, teaching in this like little closet, a lot of hours doing that, and continuing to do YouTube videos, which I did then as just a hobby in Colorado, because during COVID we had a bunch of time. So I also bought like a YouTube camera and started, or like a little, I actually had a tiny little GoPro, a crappy GoPro
You already
camera.
had like an old GoPro.
And I would like record some of our hikes that we did, and then I actually bought this camera I'm using right now. I've actually had this for a long time.
Yeah.
To record some of our trips to like Utah and some other stuff that I would film with, and it was like really fun.
Yeah.
And I think that also kind of like helped push our like desire for travel. It kind of turned into like a little bit of a job, unintentionally.
Yeah.
Because before I was just making YouTube videos for fun, as like a hobby because I had extra time. But the travel content, like the hikes and stuff, started to do really well. And like the top things to do list started to do really well. So I started making that content and kind of like combined with our lifestyle, which at that point was becoming more and more travel based. We started to go on. Not only did we explore Chicago, but we still wanted to do other trips too.
Yeah.
And do you remember the trips we did when we were living in Chicago?
Florida.
I went to the Florida Keys.
Yeah.
Which is something my mom said she'd always take me to before she died. And now she's going. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. But we decided to go anyway. Because we wanted to.
Where else did we go?
We went to...
Wisconsin.
Oh yeah, we went to Wisconsin.
Not Wisconsin.
No, it was Wisconsin. Yeah.
What is that city
what
called?
City? Oh man. What's the city in Wisconsin?
Starts with a M.
I made a video on Milwaukee.
Yeah.
I made a video on Milwaukee. So that was like only a couple hours away, I think, from Chicago.
Yeah.
It's a cool city. It has some cool things. Is it my favorite place in the world? No, sorry, Milwaukee people. But it was fun to visit once. And it has like a beach and some okay food options, a market.
We actually visited Michigan.
Yeah, we went back to Michigan, but a different route through Wisconsin.
We went to Pictured Rocks.
And that was amazing.
Which was a lot of fun.
That was a really fun trip.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed that. It was shorter than I would have liked.
I know.
And then we also flew to Oregon. That was like our last trip we did
yeah?
in Chicago before we left. Is we flew to Oregon because we loved Washington when we went there before. I love the Pacific Northwest. And Oregon's also a gorgeous place. So I flew to Portland and traveled around and still did our hiking because we didn't really get that nature fix in Chicago to the same extent.
Yeah, it was so opposite. It was like, and then at first it was because of COVID. It was like just dead, and then that summer came around, and then it was so busy with tourists because we lived close to the Bean. Yeah. What is it?
It's Cloudgate.
Cloudgate. Yeah. So every weekend I'm like pushing through crowds or something.
Yeah, but also fun to see it more lively after COVID, where I felt like a ghost town, and the Riverwalk opened up. Yeah. And it was a really nice place to get views of the city and have some drinks. Really good vibes.
Yeah.
But yeah, so.
Before that, though, it was a little depressing.
Yeah.
And then summer came, and then I was like, oh yeah, this is what it's like. Because Colorado wasn't like that in the winter. Like, it snows. It snows a lot, but then it's so sunny that it just all melts right away.
Or in Chicago, it's oppressive.
Like, it's freezing.
Yeah, it's not good. So yeah, but we knew we didn't want to live in Chicago long term, which is good because I was still like not sure. Do I want to go to graduate school? So if I do that, I need to commit to somewhere for like 4 or 5 years, maybe. It's a long time. So I'm like,
so then we're like, where are we gonna go next?
But I do remember this very vividly. We went to there's this really cool place that was I think it's called Museum Campus, and it's like a long walk from where we lived in the Bean. There's a bunch of museums there, such as the Natural History Museum. Well, what's the name of that one they have?
I think that's
the Field Museum.
Oh,
Field Museum. They have an aquarium, and it's this little like peninsula that like juts out of the city and gives you beautiful views of like the city and the lake. And there's a little tiny like beach. You're picturing what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
So we walked there. We didn't go to any museums, but it's just a really nice walk and like cool area to check out. And then walking back, like I was talking to Vanessa about like wanting to travel. And I'm like, so what do you... And this was like pretty soon after we moved to Colorado, because it's still warm. Well, not Colorado, Chicago. And I was talking to Vanessa, and I'm like, I want to like travel and like go to a lot of different places. And I'm like, so like, what do you think? And then you're like, yeah, I do too. And then I'm like, well, so should we just like put our stuff in storage or something? And then I think we didn't have all the specifics figured out, but I think we were both on the same page in that moment about like wanting to actually travel and like go to other countries rather than, because we love traveling in America, and I still do. I kind of want to do it some more, to be honest, because America's a gorgeous country. But the world is just such an amazing place. With so many different cultures and landscapes that I want to see those now. Right. But I knew I wanted to go to the next step, especially after having like gone to Japan and done something so like jarring and crazy, and loving our travel so far. I wanted to like do all these other cool experiences with Vanessa, and you did too. Yeah. So I remember in that conversation, like we were like, we're on the same page, which is something we built towards. Yeah. And that leads us to the current stage of our life that we're in now, which is world travelers, or trying to be, which we've been doing since we moved out of Chicago in 2021.
Yeah,
fall of 2021.
Yeah.
After we went to Oregon, we packed up. We pretty much just put all our stuff like at our family's houses in Michigan, and then we went to Tulum. Yeah. And that
started our year of travel.
Yeah, started your travel, which is... That's the short, believe it or not, that's a short story after all that rambling of how, who we are, how we met, how we became a thing, and how we became travelers. Yeah. And of course, there's more we could talk about. I think there's a lot of fun subtopics to dive into, like why we travel, like ultimately, like why we decided to do it, and more about like the struggles, about like like what should we do with our lives, like what's the meaning of life. No, not anything that deep, but like pursuing happiness and why traveling for us like really does do that to some extent, which was an interesting conversation to have another day. So what do you guys think? Do you guys feel like you know us a little bit more? Probably. So anyways, thanks for listening to us, everybody. That's all for the About Us. And of course, stay tuned for the next episode coming to you soon. That's all, everybody. Peace.
What? You gotta go forward, right?
Peace.